Okay, still gotta set up my autopilot, put away the dishes, close my through holes, put in contact lenses, set up my iPad, switch on my depth sounder and wind instrument, take off the line on my tiller, which I love to forget, and then anchors up and I'm like, whoa, I can't steer. And that's about it. Oh, no, look for my preventer lines. I always forget that one too, because it's gonna be downwind today. Oh, and last but not least, put on some sun lotion and take up my kayak. I usually take my kayak up even if I do short trips like 10-15 miles, just because then I don't have to deal with it. I once didn't, and I had a little incident and it came full of water, and then I found out it doesn't actually sink even if it's completely full with water, but it was a bit of a hassle to get all the water out of it again. So even for short journeys, I always take up the kayak. It's, you know, takes 5 minutes. I'm gonna set the mainsail, and usually for that I put my autopilot on so it can keep me in the wind. And now we have 12, 13 knots. Perfect. Alrighty, mainsail is up. I put it into the first reef. I usually always do that when I put the main up, just so I can see what everything is like. And also today it's supposed to be gusting up to 20, so it's good to have a little reef in Karl. Also, you know, me and my foot. So I'm taking it slow. Alrighty, I might have to dive. Go on my course. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna stay like this for a tiny little bit. I'll put the preventer on. I'm gonna put my autopilot on for a second, find my bearings, make sure everything is okay. I'm gonna go in neutral, see what this is doing. And then I'm gonna put up a waypoint. I haven't done that yet. Usually I do that prior to leaving, but I forgot. So I have the main up in the first reef and I'm in neutral. I'm still doing 3.8 knots. We have 11.3 knots of apparent wind. 165 degrees, I'd say. Okay, I think I can switch up the engine. I just want to switch off my fridge first because it's like 10 o'clock, so my solar hasn't kicked in so well, and I'm using the autopilot. So my battery situation is not so good, so I'm just going to switch that off real quick. Since we're going super fast, I probably have to put my engine in reverse. So hear that? Boom. Probably spinning quite a bit. Whoa, okay, 18 knots. Such a treat to have the autopilot working, not having to steer whilst you prep all your lines and whatnot. I'm gonna try and go wing on wing. We'll see if that works. Well, this could just work out. I have to keep all these little islands to my starboard side, and then there's this little island just in front of me that I need to head for, and then I need to decide if I leave it on port or on starboard. But right now I'm doing 4 knots downwind, wing on wing. Beautiful. Since wing on wing is not really autopilot course, I'm not gonna do a lot of filming because I need to concentrate a little bit. So, sorry, you only get shots from the cockpit. Whoa! Wind is picking up, doing 4.8 knots! We have 14.4 apparent wind, so, whew, yeah, gusting a little bit. Probably, well, we'll see how it goes. Don't want to risk too much, so I might, if it's supposed to be pretty gusty, so if it gets a little too gusty, then I'll roll in the genoa a little bit, but for now, it's not completely rolled out anyways. Playing it safe. 5 knots! Ooh, kicking it. Somebody has asked me to also speak about temperatures. So it's 29-90 degrees Celsius in the water. Big current stream. Holy shit. That's insane. Well, 29.9 in the water. And then it's, I don't know, it feels like 40 degrees Celsius in the sun, but it's not. It's probably, I don't know, 32, 34 Celsius. Pretty warm. But there's a nice breeze, so that always helps a little bit. Yeah, I had been wondering if there was like a funky current here because there's so much fish and so many birds. So the boat is going a little funky. There's 2 little islands that are definitely not on my charts. One is here, and the other one is right in front of me. Oh, well, let's hope there's nothing else in between here that I don't know about. And obviously now the wind is picking up. I'm sailing wing on wing through some uncharted rocks. Luckily I have a track. When we all left with Barry, the old sea dog, when he did his crossing. It's gonna be really close. I don't think I can make it without driving. Especially because the current is pushing me over. Still have about 8 to 10 meter depth, so that's pretty decent. I'm definitely getting a bit more wind now, of course. Pocket. Doesn't look so close, but it's pretty close. I think we made it through it, more or less. I'm putting on the autopilot because I want to test it here with the little stronger winds. Karl has a tendency to shoot into the wind when the wind gets like a little stronger. So once he gets off course and he starts going towards the wind, there's a lot of pressure on the tiller because the tiller, like the rudder, is not pre-balanced and it's a big rudder. So it can get pretty tough to steer. So I want to see how the pelagic autopilot is doing with these conditions. So far he's going but he's holding course. There are these rocks here on the chart, and I had wanted to go between the rocks and the mainland, but now with this whole islands not being charted, I'm actually gonna go around, which is gonna be nice because then I can jibe and then I can actually sail to the anchorage with like 120 degrees. So that's gonna be exciting. We're still doing 4.5 knots. The wind is calming down a little bit now, like down to maybe 12. Before we had a good constant like 14, 15. Now we have like 12, 13. Still gusting up like 16, 18. But definitely like 2-3 knots less than before. But that was in the forecast, so still perfect. Loving it. The bay that I'm going into is called Concholon Bay. It's this one here. That's all I have chart-wise, so not really like super in-depth information. So the only information I have is entering this small bay on the west side of Punta Cocos. Favor the southern side of the entrance channel. Once inside, anchor off a nice beach at the end of the bay. I think we can do that. I will be there in about an hour, which is perfect because it's gonna be low tide, which is really nice because then you can actually see everything, and then if you do get stuck somewhere you can get off it. But it seems that on Navionics somebody has been there and somebody has put some soundings into the entrance. Looks like it's 8 at the entrance and then it goes down until you get to the beach where it's then like around 2. So I can probably go pretty far in with Karl. I have another 40 minutes to go, maybe 35. And I can already taste that anchor beer running smoothly down my throat. It looks really pretty. I'm so glad that I left to do this little trip. It's the perfect beginning of the new year. Karl is loving it to stretch his wings. I love to be out again and just feel the ocean and the wind, and it's just a perfect day for sailing. When I tack or jibe on Karl, I often have to help my genoa to move between the forestay and the cutter stay. Or I could also roll it in more or less halfway and then pass it to the other side. Wow. Gotta pack the sails in a little bit anyways. Got about another half an hour maybe. Well, maybe 20 minutes for the sails. Okay, I can see why they say stick to the south when you come in, because in the northern side you see quite a bit of whitewash, like there's a couple of rocks. So I'm gonna stick to that. Alrighty, sails are down. Let's check out that bay. It might be a little bit rolly, but it's gonna be beautiful. Okay, the wind and the current are both pushing me right into the bay, so I have to be a bit careful. It's quite narrow, actually. Just the wind and the current are pushing me in at 2 knots, so that's scary enough. Depth that people have put in seem to be quite accurate. but we'll see. Usually when I enter a new to me anchorage, I putter in real slow and I do a full circumference around the spot that I might want to put my anchor down to check the depth. And then I go back to the center of that circle I did and I drop the hook. Okay, I anchored in 3.5, 4 meters of water. I put out, this is low tide, so high tide 8 meters. So I put out 40 meters of chain. I'm kind of like sitting right on top of the beach. I still have 3.5 meter steps here. So let's see what happens when I back up. I think I'm all the way stretched and I have 3.3. I'm gonna set the anchor now. Slowly going up to 1500. Looks pretty solid. It does seem like I went maybe a little bit too far south, but we'll see. I should be fine from what I scanned, but you never know. Well, let's see where we settle here. It's really beautiful, but there's not a lot of room. Thank you, Red. Thank you, Carl. Now that I took care of Carl, put the snubber on and put the sail cover on, put the tiller thingy on, it's time for anchor beer! Whoa! What a beautiful, beautiful sail.